Last on Everdark, Fiona Darksilver returned to Solace to report what she'd seen of Daemon to Kaymorn, but she discovered far more in Solace than the knowledge she brought with her. The Order is requiring houses to send their vampires to join the Order rather than having members volunteer to join. Blood slaves, humans who are mind-controlled and kept as prisoners, are now being brought into the Everdark to sustain the vampire's thirst, which is against the Order's very core belief that people should be free of their oppressors. While Fiona believes that they should speak with Daemon to discover his intent, but Kaymorn and his master Artemis Alucius quite clearly believe that Daemon wants war. We now return back to Balthazar and Daemon, who are trapped in a Kaly basement facing a horde of undead. Everdark, Episode 44, True Power of the Mind. I hate dead people. They smell. Balthazar sniffed as dozens of the undead rose up from the stinking earth and shambled towards them. Daemon smirked. Eyros had always been fastidious. It was rather amusing to see him down here in that very fancy suit, surrounded by dirt and rot. He gestured towards the undead. You should do something about them then. Don't want to get your clothes dirty, do you? Or break a sweat? Balthazar blinked at him. He pointed to his chest. You think I can handle them by myself? Unlike you, Daemon, I have no powers over the dead. I was just going to hide behind your skirts. There was a low, rumbling moan from the undead that even Daemon shuddered at. Life and death were beyond immortals. He could draw power from both, but Kaly had an affinity for death so very strong that sometimes it seemed they would destroy all life. Replace the bright sparks of humans and animals, insects and plants with rot and decay. Hide behind me. Daemon's lips twitched again. Yes, most definitely. Balthazar literally stepped behind him. Just like this. Hiding. Now they have to come through you to get to me. That was when the low rumbling started up behind them too. The earth pushed up with skeletal hands like obscene flowers. You cannot hide behind me when they are all around us, Daemon pointed out. Balthazar's lips writhed back from his teeth. I see. Well, you can handle all of them regardless. He stepped even closer to Daemon. You are king. Be kingly. Destroy our enemies. I could, but I wish you to, Eyros, Daemon said. Again, not a Kaly vampire. Can't do anything about this. Balthazar made a disgusted sound as the skeletons trekked towards them. You may not be able to raise the dead, but you can control them. They have minds. Very rudimentary ones to be sure, but they have them, Daemon explained. That's assuming I want to reach in and touch their rotting minds, which I don't. Not at all, Balthazar told him. One of the skeletons had reached them and swiped at Daemon. It didn't touch him. With a bare brush of the Asher gift, he sent the skeleton back and froze it and their brethren in place. Ah, see? You handled it all by yourself. Though aren't you going to turn them into bone piles like you did outside? That was quite good, Balthazar said with a smile as he brushed his hands down the front of his three-piece suit. You misunderstand, Eyros. I have frozen them so you have time to take over their minds and command them against the Kaly vampires who will rush us any minute now, Daemon said with a gesture to the undead as he added, and I would like you to command them to fight for us. Oh, and one other thing. You are not to give any of the Kaly vampires their second deaths. The whole time he was speaking, Balthazar's eyebrows had been rising up and up and up until they were indistinguishable from his hairline. Really? Balthazar squeaked. And you have. Daemon tilted his head to the side as he listened to the noises from upstairs. Less than 5 minutes to accomplish this. But they're dead. Balthazar flapped his arms. Their brains are mush, if that. I can't control soup. You are not actually affecting the physical brain, you know. Daemon stared hard at him. I've never known exactly how my gift works. Exactly. Just that it does, and I can do it very well, Balthazar mumbled. He looked at the nearest undead, which was a woman. The flesh that remained was desiccated and strung tightly over the bones in brown strips. Their minds are not the same as a living person's. No, the souls are gone. Only a memory remains of who they once were, Daemon explained. Well, that's sort of a relief. I admit one of my issues with the Kaly was that they, take people's souls. Balthazar gave a little shudder. Oh, they do. They use them to fuel other gifts. But that's not how they made these. Daemon gestured to the still undead. Balthazar's expression almost made him laugh. It was quite horrified, with a mixture of distaste. What happens to the person's soul? Is it used up? Gone forever? No. A soul is eternal. It gives out so much power, then goes dormant for a time before it slowly recharges. Daemon told him with a shrug. But that's... So the soul, person, whatever it is enslaved forever? Just playing its part as a damned Kaly battery? Outrage had Balthazar's pale cheeks flushing. I do not know exactly what you mean by battery, but power source, yes, Daemon said. That's wrong. That's so wrong. Balthazar honestly looked upset. It was his turn to have his eyebrows rise. I see. Do you? Balthazar searched his face. Are we anything to you? I mean, you've lived ages and ages, and Roan told me about the war, told me about Eyros. Roan was damaged by Eyros? Daemon asked, even as he knew that Balthazar clearly already thought so. Balthazar swallowed. Of course. I think he was. Roan was probably bad from the beginning, but Eyros gave him mind control powers and told him to use them to torture and kill with them. Eyros weaponized a sociopath in the worst possible way. A throb of empathetic pain came from Balthazar's mind to his. Again, this was a bit of a surprise. Eyros had always been very practical, but Balthazar was very emotional, passionate, and different. You think you're to blame for Roan's back acts, then? Daemon asked. Balthazar stared hard at him. Maybe, but I could blame you, too. You left the immortals on their own. You foolishly trusted them not to behave badly, but they did, and that's partly on you. Yes, I suppose it is. Daemon was very still, but I was not there when this war happened. Maybe the war only happened because you weren't there. Balthazar lifted his head as he said this. Perhaps. Daemon could not deny that this didn't sound likely. Something terrible had happened between the immortals while he had slept. Old angers, hurts, slights, things that he had soothed over or forced to resolve were obviously left open like wounds to fester once he was gone. Yet I could not stay awake, Daemon thought. Not after. Not until my Julian lived. Shouldn't you be telling me that the clock is ticking and we don't have time for this conversation? 5 minutes and all? Balthazar asked with a sudden uncomfortable laugh. You have until they burst through the door, Daemon said, and then I'll release the undead to you. Balthazar gave him a narrow-eyed look. I can't believe you're making me do this. It's practice. Daemon crossed his arms over his chest. For what? If Kaly is our adversary, then waves of the undead will start stomping their way across Ravenscroft Manor, he said. Damn, that will annoy the gardeners. Balthazar rubbed his hands together. I didn't mean, to blame you for the war. Not really. Not for Roan, either. Or any of it. We all make our own choices. I just think that if you're back... And you are back, aren't you? I am. Then you can't go away. Not like you did, Balthazar told him with surprising firmness. Not again. I will keep that in mind. Daemon gave him a small smile. It's like that movie. It's a Wonderful Life, Balthazar said with a short laugh. I do not know what a movie is, or It's a Wonderful Life. Your mind makes it more confusing. Of course you don't. Balthazar shook his head. But what I mean is that you should now know your value, if you didn't before. You can see all the bad stuff that happened since you weren't here to stop it. Yes, and there is bound to be much more that I will learn, Daemon agreed. He could still remember Seer's words to him when he had decided to go to sleep, that when he woke, he would see betrayal everywhere. But I would have my fledgling, and that was all that mattered. She was right about Julian, so she was likely right about all the rest, too. Balthazar gave him a sympathetic smile. But don't worry, I'll still be willing to hide behind you, no matter what happens. Daemon chuckled. I hope you fight beside me, Eyros. That was when both of them heard the sound of Kaly vampires rattling down the stairs.
You might like The Vampires Club, which is one of my book series on Amazon. It's gay vampire romance, but it has nothing to do with Everdark. Here's the summary. Find the wolf. What is that supposed to mean? Those are the words Lucas Daniels hears before stumbling through the brass doors of the elegant Club Diavel, a club that seems to appear out of nowhere. The club is his last hope of getting a job to escape his predatory stepfather's home. Who would dare enter a vampire's sanctuary uninvited? Count Constantine the Wolf, Volk, may be weakened by a curse, but he is still a primal predator. And when he sees a young man venture into his club, bypassing all of his magical and physical protections, more than just his curiosity is aroused. Is there more to this meeting than simple chance? This series is complete, and although it's 7 books, they're novellas that move pretty fast and pack in a lot of plot. I'll post a link to this series in the notes.
You know, I'm really interested in seeing that Armageddon power that is supposed to be yours alone, Balthazar suggested. Hope that I never use it. Balthazar blinked, and then said slowly, Right. Well, guess I better get this going then. Balthazar rolled back his shoulders, and Daemon could feel his friend's powerful mind flood the room. It was unfocused. In a way, it was too much power. But Balthazar would learn to use a lighter touch in time. He was still learning. It was strange to watch Balthazar relearn all of this and not to think of the past. But Daemon always looked forward. That was the way that the past did not crush one into dust. Like tendrils of smoke, Balthazar's power curled around each of the undead. Okay, let go. I already did, Daemon told him. Excellent. Balthazar was smiling, pleased with himself. As one, all of the undead turned towards the opposite side of the room, where a broad set of stairs swept down into this basement space. The skeletons moved in unison, like an army on parade. The Kaly vampires filled the stairs. They had moved, mostly silently downwards. Their matching pale hair and faces made them look bleached out, like dolls that had been left in the sun, or perhaps the dark, too long.
You should not have come here,
one of them said.
We have the right to destroy you,
Another added. You threaten us? You're bigger fools than I thought. He's the king, and you are traitors, Balthazar shouted at them. You saw him use 2 of the gifts. You know he's Daemon, and you're still attacking us? What should your fate be for betraying your king? The Kaly vampires went silent. Their minds were a strange mix of nimble and concrete. They had assimilated all of the new facts, but the conclusions were still uncertain. And the one thing they did know was that their leader did not want Daemon or Balthazar to leave this place with their second lives. Kaly, this is foolishness, Daemon sent out into the void, knowing that Kaly would hear him. These children cannot hurt me, nor Eyros either. Remember, do not give them their second deaths, Balthazar. We must stop them but not hurt them. Daemon murmured. Why not? Oh, right. Benevolent king and all that. Or is it just so Julian won't be angry with you? Balthazar asked with a wry smile. Now he grinned. A little bit of both. I don't blame you. Julian is so very... Hey, don't give me that scowl. Balthazar laughed, as Daemon had scowled at him. Balthazar had tried to steal Julian from him after all. He was still upset about that. You have to admit that Julian has admirable bits and bobs, and who wouldn't want that? Him, I mean. Come on. Now is not the time, Balthazar. We have things to do. Or rather, you do. Daemon pointed back at the Kaly vampires who were slowly advancing down the stairs. Bastards are trying to take control of my little army. I don't think so. Balthazar's eyes narrowed, and suddenly that little army of the undead started stomping towards the Kaly. The Kaly vampires started to leap off the stairs and crash into the bony warriors that faced them. Skulls flew from shoulders, limbs were snapped off. Other than the clacking of bones, the Kaly vampires fought in complete silence. The undead swarmed the Kaly vampires, but it took 5 or 6 to overwhelm each vampire. Balthazar had the undead pin them, but a few Kaly got through and were racing towards them. Those are yours too, Balthazar. Daemon crossed his arms and leaned against the wall. No problem, Balthazar grinned. I can do this. Another wave of power left Balthazar, and the running Kaly vampires stopped in their tracks so swiftly that the top half of their bodies jerked forward even as their feet remained planted on the ground. Their eyes went blank, and suddenly they were spinning around and jumping back into the fray. It took the other Kaly vampires time to realize that their fellows were attacking them. Daemon wasn't shocked when those that weren't under Balthazar's power fully attacked those that were. They would give their fellow house members their second deaths without a thought. The Kaly had always been individualistic and protected themselves above all others to the core. Balthazar, he pointed to the Kaly that were about to kill each other. Oh, damn it to hell! Balthazar snarled, and another wave of power went through him. The Kaly that were fighting one another were suddenly turning towards the still unaffected ones. Do not blast their minds away, Daemon warned. Be gentle, be easy. You have more than enough strength in your little finger to take all of these minds in this room. I love how you're standing over there giving lessons while I do all the work. The minds of the undead are like slippery eels, and the Kaly are nearly just as bad, Balthazar grumbled, but his mental touch did get significantly lighter. That is good, even lighter still. Think of your power like the very air itself. You are everywhere, Daemon advised. The air. I am everywhere. Excellent advice, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who is this Obi-Wan? We really need to get you up to date on pop culture, Balthazar muttered. But again, despite Balthazar's objections, he felt Balthazar's magic thin and spread. It infected the room. He could almost see it as dust motes dancing through the candlelight. There were 50 Kaly in the room, and twice as many of the undead. The Kaly had knocked down the undead to a third, but now none of them were moving. They were all standing silently, eyes vacant. Excellent work. He pushed off the wall and clasped Balthazar's shoulder. I rather feel like the dog who chased after the car and caught it, Balthazar admitted with a laugh. Release the undead to me. Gently. Gently? Yes, gently, Obi-Wan. It will be done. He had a feeling that this Obi-Wan teasing was not altogether teasing. It meant something profound. But he did not look into Balthazar's mind to see what it was. That would be violative. He would ask Julian what it meant later. It would at least give him some context. So he put that thought to the side for now. As soon as the undead were released to him, he unbound the spells that held their bodies and memories here. They fell to pieces in a clatter of bones. What about the Kaly vampires? Should I give them to you too? Will they fall to pieces as well? Nice, neat little piles of Kaly vampires on the floor? Keeping control of their minds is one thing, but I can't quite keep them like this forever. Balthazar let out a soft huff of laughter. I will show you something that you showed me, Daemon said. Oh, now I am intrigued. When you say me, you mean Eyros, yes? Balthazar cocked one eyebrow up. Who else would I mean? Right, of course. It's just I'm still getting used to all this. My head is rather spinning about it, Balthazar confessed. But please, show me. I'm very happy to see my own genius put into practice. Indeed, You always are. Your cleverness took you far, Daemon told him, remembering how Eyros was among the most intelligent of the immortals, if not always the most moral. But that seemed to have changed in a way. And it probably got me killed too, didn't it? Though with all this stuff about Kaly showing us how to get into other people's bodies, I guess I didn't really die. But it's weird that I chose a mortal who then just happened to be picked by Roan to turn and... Balthazar stopped talking as something seemed to occur to him then. It couldn't have been a coincidence that Roan turned me. No. Balthazar stiffened, and a sigh went through the Kaly as he slightly released them. Oh, no you don't. The lock on them was swiftly put back into place. You know, these vampires are 5 times my age on average. You know how amazing that is? I'm amazed, in any case. You will have to do better than this, Eyros, if we are to take back the Everdark, Daemon reminded him. Ah, yes, conquest. But Daemon, it couldn't have been a coincidence that Roan chose me, Balthazar said again, his tone high and tight. Again, no. So I subconsciously or whatever had him find me? Balthazar asked, his brow furrowing. Why would I choose Roan to be my turning person? I refused to call him master. He made me do that before because he knew how I loathed him and... Balthazar swallowed hard. He made me see how he used the mind control power so corruptly against me and others. He tortured so many, broke so many, like Aurora, like... Why would I choose him? Daemon had a few ideas of why Eyros might have. Perhaps because you wanted to punish yourself for failing in this war. Balthazar's jaw tightened. Is that all? Just a little bit of self-directed hatred for failing? Daemon heard the loathing in Balthazar's voice, and a kind of despair. He said the next, not just to spare his friend from thinking this, but also because he thought it was most likely true. No, I think that in the past you might have done that. But I know you wished to make sure this time that you knew what not to do. Balthazar chewed this over. Maybe a little bit of both. But I know what I'm going to do with the knowledge of what it's like to be under a master like Roan Tithe. Yes? I'm not going to be like him. Not ever, Balthazar said. You always sought to increase your skills, your craft. The mind, you told me, was infinite. The power of it unmatched, Daemon said as he stepped over into the center of the almost statue-like Kaly. It allowed you to do things that made others leery of you, even afraid, because all they could do was strive to keep their minds locked from yours and hope you didn't go after them. Maybe if I had gone after them instead of turning a bunch of vampires into cannon fodder, that might have been a better idea. Balthazar was frowning. That is, assuming that things happened somewhat like they said in the ancient texts. But then again, they were wrong about you. But right, too. We will find out, Daemon told him. Now let me show you what you showed me. It better be something damned impressive, because these Kaly are going to try and kill us the moment I release them. Balthazar growled low as a bead of perspiration trailed down his temple. Their minds are very difficult to change, and there's not enough night for me to attempt it. Based upon your current way of doing things, as if your gift is a hammer and every mind is a nail? No. But remember, your mind is like the very air, Daemon told him. Feel what I do, and you'll get to try it yourself later. Daemon closed his eyes. The Kaly vampires' minds were blue sparks in the room. Balthazar's was red. He was on Daemon's side already, and he would not touch his friend's mind. He breathed in and let out that breath slowly. He imagined that breath spreading throughout the room, and with every Kaly mind it touched, they turned from blue to purple to blood red. What the hell? He heard Balthazar whisper. Daemon opened his eyes. The Kaly vampires were once more under their own control. They blinked and looked about them at the dead. Then They turned towards Balthazar and Daemon. Balthazar took a few quick steps towards him. "I'm going to hide behind you again," Balthazar hissed. "I don't have their minds, and neither do you, and—"
King Daemon?
It was one of the girls from the door. She was smiling hugely at him. She dropped to one knee. Every single Kaly followed suit, crossing one arm over their chests.
You honor us with your presence. We were misled about you and your intentions towards us. Can you ever forgive us?
Holy hells, what did you do? Balthazar breathed.
Lord Balthazar, we are so sorry for the disrespectful way we treated you as well.
The other girl who had been by the door said, Lord Balthazar? Oh, yes, well, that's all right. Just a misunderstanding, I suppose, Balthazar said after a moment. Please rise. There is no need for such formality here. Daemon gestured for them to all rise, and they did so, their eyes shining with devotion. I have been gone for a long time. There was bound to be confusion in my return, but we are all family now. The Kaly vampires smiled and nodded. You aren't controlling their minds, so they really believe this. They really think this. Balthazar breathed out in a voice only he could hear. Yes, this is why you were always feared, Eyros, because you could convince your enemies to be your friends without them even knowing you had done it, Daemon told him. Balthazar's eyes went huge. He glanced over at the Kaly and seemed to truly understand what his power could do for the first time. I see. I'm rather terrified of myself. Eyros, you... Daemon broke off with a grimace. What's wrong? Balthazar was immediately holding his arm. I need to feed and rest, Daemon admitted. Too much, too soon. And Julian needs to feed as well. Don't you worry, Balthazar said, and there was something in the set of his shoulders that was more immortal than exile, but still tempered with what he had learned in this life. I'm going to take care of everything, my king. Join us next time for episode 45, Waiting Game.
If you're interested in getting my books for free, and who doesn't like free books, my free book email list is what you should join. Every month, I make 2 books free to download for 5 days, which is the length of time Amazon allows. And I make books from the Vampires Club series free often, since there are 7 of them. Most of my ebooks are also in Kindle Unlimited, so you can borrow them anytime if you have a KU subscription. I'll post the link to the mailing list form in the notes.
The Everdark podcast by Ex Aratare is performed by Edward Fox, Adam Riley, Jay Thelis, Bruno Devant, Kelly Michaels, and Hannah Hart, with Liz Gentle as Seer. Edited by Matthew Prince, continuity by Adrielle Wiggins. Everdark is produced by Wraith Rain Publishing in association with Her Grace Reed Studios. Copyright 2022 by Wraith Rain Publishing.